Hello, my name is Lilian Silva. I'm the Forages Research and Extension Specialist at Clemson University. Today, I'll be talking about main nutrients for forage crops. So let's get started. So when we're talking about nutrients for forage production, we have some nutrients that we commonly refer to that are the ones that we call primary micronutrients, just because they are the ones that the plants need in larger amounts. And those are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Then we do have some nutrients that we say that they are secondary micronutrients. They are listed here on the column that's on the middle of the table. And then we have some nutrients that plants require lesser amounts of them, but some of them are very important to specific functions for plants. For example, for legumes, uh, legumes need boron and molybdenum to be able to fix nitrogen from the air, from the atmosphere. So in soils, in conditions that these nutrients are deficient, plants will struggle to be able to fix nitrogen. So we might run into issues with legumes not being able to provide as much nitrogen to the system as they would be able to, they would have potential to. Then when we're talking about nutrients, we need to also think about the conditions that are related to the main process with the basic process for the plants. One of them being temperature. Temperature is very important, especially actually for all process, but when we are going to be establishing a new area, we need to make sure that we're going to have the best conditions for that planting window to be appropriate, and the best conditions for temperature, for seeds germination, and then for growth and establishment of the plants. The temperature is also important when we're talking about regrowth, spring green up, and it's going to be the factor that's going to, one of the factors that will give the plants a alert that's time for those plants that usually grow during summer, that those are the warm season plants, to start to green up and really growing again and making leaves. Those plants usually are dormant through fall and winter months. Then, as I was just saying, we do have those plants, those warm season forages. Usually, if they are perennials, they are going to be usually dormant during fall and winter months. And the growing points are the ones that will start growing again once they have that alert from temperature, from photo periods, that it's time for them to start growing. Then another nutrient that's really important is water. And the reason being because it is going to be important for basic process as germination, but also growth. So on the top picture here, we have an area that a sunhemp field that went through a really prolonged drought in early establishment, and really compromised most of the field. So plants were actually wilted and dying at this point. But we can also run into issues with waterlogging for prolonged periods of time in areas, and especially when we have some challenging weather issues. For example, on the bottom picture, this was just after a hurricane came through in Florida, and the water accumulated on a pasture for few months, and actually compromised portions of that pasture on that area. So we can have the extremes, and we need to make sure that we are really considering the environmental conditions and the history of the land before we choose plants, forages that are adapted to those conditions, and can be the ones to succeed, or even if we're able to have irrigation on an area with a forage stand that might need to get some water, or when you're working with a when you want to achieve a certain level of production on an area. So if you can rely on having irrigation, those factors will be factors to consider and to plan ahead of time, but also knowing that in some cases we might run into problems, environmental issues that we cannot control, that we're not able to predict. So sometimes we will just have to deal with those and understand that, for example, excessive moisture will affect not only the plant that's over the soil surface, but also will have impacts on the roots and their ability to continue to live and to explore nutrients in the soil, and those nutrients should be available for the plants to grow and continue to do their basic process throughout that time. This is what I had for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Appreciate you coming here and watching this one. Please check out the other videos that I have on my Forage Drops channel. These are the QR codes for the Facebook and YouTube page. If you have any questions, please reach me out. Thank you so much. Have a great one, and see you next week.